And let's cross now to Colonel Miri Eisin, Director of the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism at Iraq University. Colonel Eisin, considering everything, pleasure to be speaking to you as per always. Well, the operation is still underway. We're not done, the IDF, that is, Israel, not done at the Shifa hospital whatsoever. We do know that Hamas did everything it can to clean up the surface as much as possible, and yet, Colonel Eisin, playing devil's advocate here, is that the smoking gun that the IDF thought it finds there at the Shifa hospital?
Every once in a while, I always feel I need to describe things in a way that is visual, and this war has been so visual. So first of all, Ellie, let's talk about words, and then we're going to talk about the Shifa hospital and the smoking guns. We'll talk afterwards about Hezbollah, because I'm going to use the term here, war of attrition, what they're doing up north. But what is Hamas doing? Hamas is in a visual war. Hamas is a terror organization. They don't dress as soldiers. They don't participate as soldiers. They act as if they're a military, but they're a terror organization, so that they don't go by the same morals. They don't go by the same ethics. They are a terror organization. I have no doubt that Shifa Hospital is and was an enormous headquarters, but now I need you to visualize. I don't know how many of the viewers here, have you been to a hospital? We're talking about a hospital complex. Shifa Hospital is a major hospital in the Gaza Strip that underneath it, over a decade, Hamas built terror tunnels. But we've talked about the tunnels themselves. They're underneath the hospital. It isn't that the hospital is built and that it's the basement and, you know, on the elevator, -1, -2, -3, -4, that you get to the Hamas floors. It is built under the complex, but in a separate way, meaning it gets the protection of the hospital above. It wants the hospital not to be taken over, and they fired from within the hospital complex. Weapons were found all over the place in the hospital complex, but now you need to get into that subterranean underground area that, again, was not built as floors -1, -2 in a parking lot. To get into those, they have booby-trapped the entrance. They don't want us to get into it. This is something which is very challenging, that you do so in a way that you're not, first and foremost in that sense, endangering the soldiers, the civilians in the hospital. But you want to get into those tunnels. You don't want them to explode because you want to be able to show what's in there. And I'm giving you now like a visual idea, as you're showing next to me, the visuals that we've tried to put out, because Hamas don't want us to be in those tunnels. Hamas don't want us to show them. They want to play this visual game that they are civilians, that Israel is doing something wrong, and it's a very challenging media manipulation done at a very high level within a very long time of preparation, meaning that this isn't something that they started preparing on October 7th. Shifa Hospital and that underground complex is something that really, for my whole time, I've always known that Hamas have built under it because that's a place they felt safest now. We did not enter into the Gaza Strip immediately. That gave them time both to be in it at the beginning, to move out of it through that tunnel system. And I described it in that way. Yes, I think it's the smoking gun, but I also think that Hamas does not want us to reach it, that they're going to booby-trap it, that to be able to get to show what they have there, they are going to do their utmost to make sure that we cannot show it.
Right, and then this is part of the challenge in this asymmetrical warfare, when one side is not bound or committed to any moral standards or legal standards, etc. Colonel Eisin, I do want us to shift focus to the hostage deal, because we're hearing day in, day out, pending, potential, if, when, being discussed. Bottom line, what we're seeing now as a general outline is this drip type of a policy. 51st, not all at once. Not a ceasefire, but fire ceased for some time. Prisoners released. Which brings me to ask you this, not whether these are good terms or not, Colonel Eisin, the distinction between a price and a cost. And I think it's important for us to discuss it, because yes, the price of something might be high or higher than you thought, but the cost is worth it.
Here we are. We're Israelis, Ellie. We live here. if there's one thing that I understand as somebody who lives here, is that there is no, it's like God, I'm making the worst kind of comparison, but I don't want to, there's advertisements, priceless. It's priceless. Human life. How can we talk about it in any way whatsoever? We're talking about the basic morals of the state, of the way that we need to protect our citizens and who we are. That's the double-edged sword of terrorism. They are using that priceless as a bargaining chip. And here at the end, I'm glad, Ellie, that I don't have to make that decision, but I want all of us to understand that. So what's better? And it's priceless, right? Okay. Do we want to wait and make sure that all of the hostages come back? Because how can you only do it bit by bit? Or do you do the 50 that you can right now, or the 100 that you can right now, and you're paying also, there's a cost for that as well, but how can you even talk about that when you're talking about something that, as I said, it's priceless? There are no easy answers. I think that the biggest challenge for every single one of us as human beings is that in our dilemmas, bring them all home right now, and that is Hamas's biggest bargaining chip. The fact that we need them to all come home now so that for them, pay the price, pay everything. It's priceless, right? Okay, we could give anything for that. But that also means that right now we are giving not just Hamas, but not just terror organization in the world, like the blueprint of how you get anything you want out of the most horrific terror act. Do we want to turn that into something that would be copycatted by anywhere around the world? That is the worst idea. But then you go, but how can you talk about the hostages, about the babies, about the children, about anybody? And here I say that is why terrorists do so.